This problem asks us to find the magnitude of the sum of two vectors. Okay, so the size of the sum of two vectors. So here are my two vectors. They're going to be written like this. So my vector FA is equal to A1 I hat plus A2 J hat. The A1 component is the X component. The A2 component is the Y component. And then for my B vector, I've got my F sub B vector is equal to B1 I hat plus B2 J hat. Okay, and so B1 is the X component of B vector. B2 is the Y component of B vector. Okay, and so for me, these were the quantities they gave me for A1, A2, B1, B2. So now we have to sum them together. All right, so let's call the sum of these two vectors vector FAB. That equals vector A plus vector B. And so the sum of two vectors is going to be the X component of the first vector plus the X component of the second vector. Okay, and we keep the I hat component there to remind us that that's the I hat component, or the X hat component, the component in the X direction. Plus, we've got our A2 vector, or sorry, A2 component, so the Y component of A vector plus the Y component of B vector, okay, J hat. So we sum them together, and that's the Y component for the sum of those vectors, okay? So if I add A1, that's minus 4.7, to B1, which is minus 5.1 I hat, plus we've got 29.9 for A2, plus B2 is 2.6 for me, and that was all J hat. Okay, and so minus 4.7 plus minus 5.1, that's minus 9.8 I hat, plus, on the sum of these two numbers, is 32.5 J hat. So my summed vector, the sum of vector A plus vector B, is negative 9.8 I hat plus positive 3.2 or 32.5 J hat. So that means that my X component of this sum is in the in the negative X direction with a length of 9.8, and then my Y component of this summed vector is positive 32.5 in the Y direction. Okay, so we've got the X and Y components now, and so to find the magnitude of the sum, or vector AB, we will appeal again to our Pythagorean theorem. And so the magnitude of this vector is going to be the square root of the X component of our vector FAB plus the square of the Y component of FAB, all that square rooted. Okay, so then that's going to be equal to the square root of my minus 9.8 squared plus my 32.5 squared, okay? And then that ends up being 33.9. All right, so that's how you'll find the magnitude of the sum of two vectors, okay? So if I draw up those two vectors tip to tail, and then I draw a vector going all the way from the tip of vector B to the tail of vector A, I would find that that length would be 33.9.